Leigh Bardugo is a fantasy adventure author and the creator of the Grishaverse, which is a universe in 3 book series: the Shadow and Bone Trilogy, the Six of Crows Duology, and the King of Scars Duology. In this video, I'll share as to how to read these 3 series and a guide to the Grishaverse. I'm making this video because, as of now, Season 1 of the Shadow and Bone series on Netflix is already done, and people have been wanting to get to the books. But they don't know where to start, as there are 3 series in the Grishaverse. So I decided to make this video to help those who want to start reading or to get into the show. I've already watched majority of the episodes in the Netflix series, and I have to say, it's a great adaptation, but it doesn't really take the time to explain the world building, and for non-readers, it could be really confusing. So let's start, and I'll introduce you to what the Grishaverse is. The Grishaverse is divided into a lot of countries, so let's talk about Ravka first. Ravka is the country where the Shadow and Bone series and the King of Scars Duology takes place, and its military is divided into 2, the First Army and the Second Army. The First Army is for people called Oretsev, which basically means non-Grisha people, or people with no magical powers. The Second Army, on the other hand, are Grisha soldiers. Grisha people are basically humans with powers, and they're divided into 3 main sections: the Etherealki, the Materialki, and the Corporalki. So let's talk about Etherealki first. Etherealki are also called summoners because, well, they summon stuff. Under Etherealki, there are 3 more groups: Squallers, Tidemakers, and Inferni. Squallers are people who can control winds and storms, Tidemakers are people who can control water, and Inferni are people who can summon fire. Each order of Grisha has a kind of kefta, and for Etherealki, it's the color blue. So those are Etherealki, and now let's head to Corporalki. The Corporalki is also called the Order of the Living and the Dead, and their powers center around the human body. Like Etherealki, the Corporalki also has 3 groups: Healers, Heartrenders, and Tailors. Healers are, I think that's self-explanatory, they heal people, and Heartrenders are Grisha who can damage a person's organs, lower their blood pressure, slow their heart rate, and basically, they're the most deadly out of the Corporalki. And last is the Tailors. Tailors are people who can render or change someone's appearance. Like, that's just basically their power. Also, Corporalki are known for their red kefta. Now, let's head to the last order, which is Materialki. Materialki, or Fabricators. And yes, Fabricators like Jesper Fahey from the Six of Crows Duology. So, under Materialki, there are 2 types: Durasts and Alchemy. Durasts are Grisha who can manipulate metal, glass, or any other material, while Alchemy are people who specializes in chemicals and powders. The kefta for the Fabricators is the color purple. So those are all the Grisha, and all that can be found on Ravka. But not everyone in the Grishaverse likes Grisha because of some beliefs, and some people think that they're witches. The main hater of Grisha people are people from Fjorda. Fjorda is a country where the residents hate Grisha to the fact that they have these soldiers called Juskela who has the right to capture or kill a Grisha. They do this because it goes against their water god, and Fjordans are noted for their blonde hair and blue eyes. And yes, that's the fan art of Matthias Helvar from the Six of Crows Duology. Now, let's head to Shuhan. Shuhan is a country known for being smart scientists. Personally, I don't really know that much about this country, as I haven't read all of the books in the Grishaverse, but all I know is that they are very smart people, and that they love to experiment on Grisha. Also, they're noted for their black hair and gold eyes, and that they've been at war against Ravka for centuries along with Fjorda. So now, let's head to Novi Zem. I would say that out of all the countries, Novi Zem is the most peaceful. It's mostly a farmland, and whenever I think about this country, I think about Jesper Fahey, because he just really fits the description for residents of Novi Zem. Jesper is farm-raised with dark hair and skin. They don't treat their Grisha badly, and instead of calling them Grisha, they call them Zoa, which means blessed. And because of this, a lot of Grisha go to Novi Zem for refuge and away from the Second Army or Fjerda's Drusgela. And finally, Kerch. Kerch is an island where the Six of Crows duology takes place. It is a small island, and it's mostly a trading place and a sort of criminal area. Also, some Grisha would come to Kerch and are sold and turned into slaves. So, those are all the places in the Grishaverse that you really need to know about if you jump into the show or to the books. The 3-book series have different plots. So for the Shadow and Bone Trilogy, it is about the Shadowfold, or the Unsea. The Shadowfold is a swath of darkness where terrifying creatures called Volcra live in it. It was made there by someone called the Black Heretic, and he did this out of greed for power. It separates Ravka into two, West Ravka and East Ravka. It's been there for centuries, and a prophecy told of someone called the Sun Summoner, and this summoner is the only one who is prophesied to destroy it. So, that's for the Shadow and Bone Trilogy. Now let's head to the Six of Crows Duology. The Six of Crows Duology is about 6 characters who plan to make a big heist in the Ice Court in order to save a scientist in exchange for 30 million Kruga. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, Kruga is the money currency for the island of Kerch, and the characters in this duology live in Kerch. So for the King of Scars duology, I don't actually know what happens here because I haven't read these 2 books, but what I do know about it is that it focuses on King Nikolai from the Shadow and Bone series and how the civil war from the Shadow and Bone trilogy affected him and his kingdom, Ravka. So now I give you the overview of what each series is about. So how do you read these 3 books? If you're an absolute beginner when it comes to the Grishaverse, then I would recommend that you start with either the Shadow and Bone series or the Six of Crows duology. In chronological order, you would have to read the Shadow and Bone series first, because the Shadow and Bone series is the first book series Leigh Bardugo wrote for this world, and this is the series that started it all. Personally, I did try to get into this series first, but I wasn't just invested in the story, and I ended up DNFing it. So how I really got into the Grishaverse was through reading the Six of Crows duology, and not the trilogy. Based on my experience, it's okay to do it because there's little to no spoilers as to what happened in Shadow and Bone. So whether you want to read the Six of Crows duology or the Shadow and Bone series first, it's completely fine either way. So let's say you went with what I did, with reading the Six of Crows duology first. So after this, I would recommend reading the Shadow and Bone trilogy. I want you to read this next because if you don't read it, then you wouldn't really appreciate what the filmmakers did in Shadow and Bone. Also, this gives you more background on the places the TV show references, and once you finish this trilogy, you have something to compare it to. So the last series you should read is the King of Scars duology. This series takes place after the events of both Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom, and it concerns the characters from both the trilogy and Six of Crows. I want you to read this last for 2 reasons. 1. This duology is Leigh Bardugo's most recent series, with Rule of Wolves, or the second and last book in the King of Scars duology, just coming out last year. And 2, if you haven't read either Six of Crows or Shadow and Bone, then I don't think you'll understand the story or get into it, because you don't really know the characters. So that's a guide on how to read the Grishaverse books. You can read them in any order you like, but I would like it if you read it this way. I really hope that this video would help you understand the Shadow and Bone Netflix show, and I really hope you enjoy reading these books. So how about you? What's your favorite Grishaverse series? Let me know in the comments down below.